Hello and welcome to the Ferret Business Podcast. I am your host, Yemmy the Ferret, aka Yemmy, and with me today is a YouTube guru, if I can say that, a host of a multitude of shows on YouTube and Twitch. He's bald. It's Matt from Create You. How you doing?
How you doing, Yemmy? It's nice to be here. But I would say I am not a YouTube guru, but I am bald. That part is 100% accurate.
All of his links will be down below, including Twitter, YouTube, and his Twitch. Also, if you stick around to the end of the podcast, all the links will be on screen, so you don't even have to move your mouse, the wheel on your mouse. All you have to do is click on the screen. So stick around for that. Matt, how you doing today?
Doing fantastic. It is a beautiful Saturday early afternoon, and I get to hang out with a very cool podcaster such as you,
such as myself,
such as me. Because really, Yemmy, I mean, it's all about me, right?
Right,
I mean, God,
right.
What a nerd. Anyway, but yeah, no, doing great, man. Doing great.
Good.
It's a good day thus far.
You know, I've been watching a lot of those, I don't know if you know what TikTok is, but I've been watching a lot of those cringe TikTok compilations.
Yeah.
They're all over my YouTube now, unfortunately, and I just keep watching them for some reason. What are your thoughts on TikTok? Because it's literally just Musical.ly times 2.
Okay, so I'm relatively new to jumping into the TikTok cringe that seems to be taking over.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's my age. Maybe it's well, let's just leave it. It's got to be my age. I don't understand it, Yemmy. For the life of me, I'm trying to understand this. I think there's probably a lot of like 8, 9, and 10-year-olds who think this is so amazing and so much fun, but I don't get it. I don't understand it.
It's got to be an age thing because I don't understand it either. And then you watch these things, and sure, there's some funny things going on, but for the most part, it's just like, it's really weird. And speaking of age, I mean, there's dudes your age and above who are on TikTok making TikTok things with younger girls. Yeah, I'm not lying to you. And actually, one guy who was one of the most famous of the TikTok old men, he looks like he's 60, but he's actually supposedly like 30. He was sending D-pics to younger girls, and he was arrested. And I mean, are you ever nervous about your kids as they grow up? Like, let's take TikTok, for example. Let's say one of your boys is on TikTok and all of a sudden an older woman just is like, hey, want to see my boobs? Like, what are your fears for the future of the internet and for your kids?
Dude, you are preaching to someone who is invested into that conversation quite significantly. I don't know if you've ever been or ever watched like a Breaking Dad podcast that I do with Dose of Dad, Dan.
Yeah,
we talk about this a lot.
Yeah.
We talk about how, like, as our kids are growing up, he has young kids, I have young kids. I'm sure in the future, Yemmy, you will have your own kids. As access to things like, just say the internet in general, right? Mm-hmm. Continues to grow, continues to expand. Knowing that, I cannot always be there to watch over my children's shoulders, and that they will eventually have access to something like this, more than likely when they're still underage, it's a very real fear of mine. I think as a parent, I think, let me put it this way in twofold. One, I think a lot of parents are living with their heads buried in the sand when it comes to what's actually on the internet. Okay. I do not believe parents are paying enough attention. So when their kids are talking about Instagram, when their kids are talking about Tinder, when their kids are talking about 4chan, they have no idea what these things are. And they are doing themselves and their children a disservice by not understanding it. It's one reason I invest myself so much into the internet, because I know this is the world my kids are going to be growing up in. So all I can do is arm myself with knowledge and hopefully arm them as well with, I guess, the same knowledge that this is the stuff that's out there. It's okay that at some point, it is what it is. But we need to be cautious and we need to be careful about this.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So let's say you did, your son is making TikTok memes and it's just the cringiest thing out there. Would you step in and stop him from doing that? Because a lot of kids nowadays, they either, whether it's on Twitter or on YouTube, anyone can record a video, make a YouTube channel, and put it on there. And so many kids are putting themselves out on the internet and just being like, I hate to keep using the word, but they're being really cringy. Would you stop your son, or would you let him kind of take the heat or take the burn?
Man, dude, that's a great question. That is a really good question. I actually had a very similar conversation with a friend of mine the other night about this, and very similar. Like, if you found out your child was doing this, what would you do? Tough one to answer,
right?
Honestly, as a parent, you can always say, well, it depends on the situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how cringe are we talking about here? Like, what level of cringe is he getting to? For the most part, if he was doing it without my knowledge, yes, I would be very upset. I would not vocalize that upsettedness so much to him, as I firmly support my kids' endeavors, whatever they are. My youngest wants to be a writer, so he's already writing.
Mm-hmm.
My oldest wants to get in video games and streaming, and we've actually talked about that. I said, once you're 13, right now we're working on learning how to edit videos and learning how to use Photoshop and Adobe Premiere and play video games, and we're going through like a learning process of it. If I found out he was doing this without my knowledge, we would definitely end up having a conversation. There's a good chance I would stop it immediately.
Oh, okay.
Not because, and the level of cringe wouldn't matter at that point. It would be almost a something that was very disrespectful. In that this is a partnership. I trust and respect him as an individual, and especially when we are dealing with something like streaming online, posting videos online, there's a certain level of respect that needs to be maintained inside of that partnership. I very much look at my kids. Yes, they are my kids, but I'm partnering with them as they're growing in life, and I'm here to support them and guide them as best as I can. Now, if he came to me prior and said, "Dad, I want to post TikTok videos," I would say, okay, let's have a conversation about this. Let's make sure that anything we're doing is legal. Let's make sure we're not going too far over any legal line, et cetera, et cetera. And let's have fun with it. Let's actually turn this into something. So that would be my long-winded response, I guess.
Yeah, the one thing that concerns me about TikTok the most, and I've never been on TikTok, never ever wanted to be on TikTok. It's just from watching YouTubers talk about it. Is anyone can make a TikTok with you? You don't need to accept them. You don't need to add them as a friend. You don't need to message them, etc., etc. And I just find that to be the weirdest thing ever. That's like one of the first things that like even dating apps have, where it's like you need to accept them in order to talk to them. They can't just
correct.
A lot of them you can't just message someone.
No.
So it's a little weird. It really is.
It to me, and I know it sounds weird, but TikTok to me seems almost very voyeuristic, in that you don't have control over the person you're going to be engaging with.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like it's this weird world where you're getting to see somebody that you typically would not engage with, and you're getting a chance to experience them in a very different way. Because if you watch any of the TikTok videos, this is not a normal engagement at all.
Right.
This is meant to be either very cringy or it's meant to make you feel very uncomfortable. It's very bizarre, dude. It's very bizarre. Again, it has its place, but would I be comfortable with a under 13-year-old, under 14-year-old engaging with, say, a 61-year-old man or woman? No.
Yeah, I
Not
don't think many
without
people
supervision.
would. Right.
No. Again, supervised, different story. Unsupervised, absolutely not. Absolutely not. So,
Let's break away from TikTok here. We're going to switch over to your podcasts. You do them on YouTube and Twitch, more so on YouTube.
right.
Why move over I think there's the one you majorly do on Twitch. Why move that one to Twitch? I think it's the weekend review or something like that.
The weekend review, yeah, which was it was originally a WGBS product. The weekend review with Lepley Plus. Shout out to Lepley Plus. Anybody who's listening, please go check out Lepley on Twitch and YouTube. She's a really good creator.
Also, what does WGBS stand for people who don't know?
Can we curse on your podcast?
Of course.
Okay. Weapons grade bullshit.
Okay.
And when I was in the military, we had I'm sure you remember the weapons of mass destruction and whatnot. Everybody, is there weapons of mass destruction going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we had this term while I was in the middle of the sandbox, and we would hear, first lieutenant or whatever say something. We just look at each other and go, "Yeah, that's a lot of weapons grade bullshit right there," And, yeah, it became a saying for us. And it just meant, there's a lot you hear, there's a lot you read, and if you really cut through the layers of it, it's all bullshit. At somewhere at the base of it, there is a truth, but typically, that truth is very simplistic as opposed to the layer of lies and BS that are layered on top of it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, I started the weapons grade bullshit, did some podcasty type things over there. The weekend review just kind of naturally evolved, along with Lepley and a few other creators who I really admired and just kind of found their way. We all started building this community together. And it is racy at times. Like if anybody's ever watched a weekend review, I do not censor people. Mm-hmm. I do not believe in censorship.
You're not pulling the punches.
No, none. And to a point, I view Twitch still very much as kind of the Wild West of online streaming. They're quickly having to start implementing rules, and I have no doubt that within the next few years, they will get very strict about what is going on Twitch. Mm-hmm. YouTube obviously has been around much longer. They've been through billion-dollar lawsuits. They're constantly under the microscope. So the weekend review, at least from a test bed standpoint and to just kind of test shows and concepts out, was just a little bit easier to produce on Twitch. Now here in the future, we'll probably move them back onto YouTube. Or at least I think that may happen. We may end up moving them back on YouTube. One of the other problems is if you're a Twitch affiliate, you cannot stream. You cannot multi-stream at the same time, which is a problem because I would love to put it on both YouTube and Twitch, but I can't because I would be violating their TOS on Twitch. So I just chose Twitch. It allows me to get away with a little bit more. I don't have to worry about it so much. And it's a good way to keep that channel active over on Twitch. So,
do you think Twitch is going to move over towards more of a YouTube style things where there is a lot of copyright strikes and people can copyright videos and stuff like that? You think so?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, you're already starting to see it in small cases. You had the entire the Alinity issue. The copy strike issue, if you will, that popped up, I guess, a month or two ago. And I think what's going to end up happening is the copyright law is going to start shifting more over into the Twitch market or start balancing itself out between YouTube and Twitch. I think the other thing that'll happen on Twitch is, I want to say 6 months ago, they updated their own TOS. to include a lot of language as it related to, I don't know how to say it without sounding horrible, but like females overexposing themselves or putting on streams that were overtly sexual in nature, not dressing in certain ways
Right.
during the stream.
Having the gameplay be the small box and them being the big box.
Right, exactly. And so now they're starting to focus on that. Not to say it's gone; it still very much exists over there. Even the recent ways they've updated their categories. So now you've got just chatting. ASMR is now its own category.
Oh boy!
Which is, it's like, I think what's going to end up happening is, like with any platform, they're going to go through growing pains, and which was just a place to stream video games. That's all it started out as. Well, now you have people bringing more real life to it, IRL streams, just chatting, ASMR, body art. Like a lot of these things, we could just look back and say, okay, yeah, we can support these things. But it goes to YouTube a year ago had a massive issue with breastfeeding channels, right? Because it's educational. They allowed you to show nudity, like full breasts, right? Because it was educational content. However, there were multiple creators inside of this breastfeeding group or this breastfeeding subculture on YouTube who were actually advertising a private service to sell very pornographic material in the same genre.
Wow.
Okay, so Twitch is going to end up going through the same thing. It's going to happen. It's just a matter of time.
Right. I agree with that 100%. Let's move on to you've been interviewing, or you've interviewed a good amount of creators on your channel now. You've watched and reviewed more than your fair share of content on your video review series. I should start off with what inspired you to start the two series, the review videos and just chatting with content creators?
That's a good question, man. I'll start with the reviews. That's the easiest one to answer. When I started the WGBS, that was obviously not the goal to review small YouTubers, not at all. One reason why I separated, basically rebranded half the channel to Create You, and then did a brand channel for the WGBS podcast. But it's not what I started out. It's not what I wanted to do. I had found a community on Reddit, slash NewTubers. And again, definitely a shout out to the NewTubers community on Reddit. If you are a small YouTuber looking for assistance, there is a lot of assistance inside of that subreddit. A lot of people there were looking for reviews, and I enjoy helping people. It's part of my addiction recovery program, is that you give back. You constantly live in an existence where you give back, right? So a lot of the questions that were being asked, I knew the fundamental answer to. I have a background in media-ish and sales and marketing. So when it came to reviewing content, I was decent at it. So, they would post, here's my video. This is what I'm looking for. And I would write these diatribes, these page-long reviews, breaking their content down into, video editing, lighting, sound, et cetera, et cetera. And that's a very hard thing to duplicate. It really is, over and over again. So I had a friend say, hey, why don't you just do this live and just do maybe a once a week or once a month review show and just open the door to small YouTubers, small creators to get their content reviewed. And at first I'm like, that's stupid. That would never work. And it's grown to what it is today. And again, it's not big by any stretch of the imagination, but I mean, it's always, those nights are always jam-packed with creators who are desperately trying to improve their content. And to me, that's huge. That's important. That's massive.
So don't take this the wrong way, but why should people trust you to review their content? And why should they take your advice?
That was the beauty of it, Yemmy. That was the beauty of it. They shouldn't. I'm nobody. And that's why at the beginning, when you said I'm a YouTube guru, I never wear that flag. I am not a YouTube guru.
I gave you that name. You didn't tell me to say that.
Right, exactly. It sounds horrible, but I hate it when people call me a YouTube guru. I'm like, no, I'm not a YouTube guru.
Sorry about that.
No, you're fine. You're fine. I laugh every time. One of the huge reasons I so enjoy the review content is most of the feedback is actually coming from the community, not me.
Mm-hmm.
I know what works from a marketing standpoint. I know what works from a sales standpoint. I'm going to be very honest with you. I am not going to sugarcoat anything I'm telling you.
Right.
And I demand that same thing of my community as well. So when we do these reviews, it's almost like a disclaimer I put out there at the very beginning is this is a community effort. So anybody who's watching, you need to be giving this creator input, because the way I'm looking at your video may not, in fact, be the way Yemmy is looking at your video, or Nomad is looking at your video, or Bana is looking at your video. They may have different opinions on maybe your content delivery, or maybe the format of lighting you're using. But when you have a multitude of people all telling you at the same time, hey, I'm not really getting the message here, that's huge. That's massive. And that should tell you as a creator that here is this random assortment of people, sometimes 20 or 30 people, who are all telling you at the same time, I have no idea what your video is about. I don't know what you're trying to achieve here. What is the purpose of this? And through that level of community engagement, you can start reevaluating your own growth process. To me, that's one of the reasons I love this community. I'll be the first one to throw out ideas. Hey guys, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? And everybody will on and go, are you mine? No, we're not doing that. Like, that's a dumb idea. And I love that community response. Right. I absolutely love that response, because that's the only way you grow. You don't grow in a vacuum. If you're trying to evaluate your own content as you, well, you're never going to grow. You just won't. The other advantage is I think a lot of those who you would put that YouTube guru flag on, the Brian G. Johnsons and the Nick Nimmons and Daryl Ives, a lot of people throw Roberto Blake in there. I don't think Roberto Blake ever wanted to be a YouTube guru. They'll review like your channel. They'll review thumbnails, but nobody was watching your video. No one. Mm-hmm. No one was taking the time to actually sit down and watch a piece of your content. And you can have the best thumbnail on the planet. You can have the best SEO on the planet. But at the end of the day, if your video content sucks, then it doesn't matter.
Right.
It doesn't matter how many people see it. If 1 million people see it and they all come and watch 30 seconds of it and go, this is a garbage video, then none of that other stuff is being any good. That's why, I didn't even really come up with the Create You name. That was our mods and people inside of the community. And it was Matt, you always talk about getting away from the technicalities of YouTube and just focusing on you, as the creator and being a better you. You're creating a better you, and then hence to create you and blah, blah, blah. And that's what we do. That's why I care about your video content. I want to see who you are, not your thumbnail. Shit, man, you can work on a better thumbnail. That just takes time. You can get better at SEO. That just takes time. But making good content at the beginning or at the end of the day, that's all that really matters on a video platform like YouTube is you. You have to sell it. You have to be your most authentic self. you have to do this. You know, people have to connect with you.
Exactly. And I will say this, when you reviewed my montage, you really put a new perspective on it that I didn't see. Like, you're coming at it from a person who doesn't watch video game content, and you're saying this is long, there's not a lot of talking, there's a lot of good content, but there's not a lot of talking. And I've taken that advice and I've thrown it into the Killing Floor videos that I've been doing, where it's mostly talking. It's video. The videos are actually edited down and taken, and that's where I'm going to be going with the channel in the future, with the update coming out November 1st.
Really?
But yeah, and you know, at first when I was listening to you talk about it, I'm like, well, he didn't watch the whole video. He didn't see the parts where I was making jokes. And then I was like, it doesn't matter, because he's watching it as a person who isn't interested in a montage. He just wants to, you know, I'm not sure what I'm about to say, but you're just watching it to, you know, give advice back. And from what you watched, it's like, it was all true. And I was like, well, I should probably change this around. So I don't know if I'll bring the montages back. I do want to, because I have a lot of good clips, but I'm not sure what I can do with it yet, which is why I'm putting it on the back burner and doing the things that I should be doing, or I want to do, with the new way I'm going to be doing videos. So I as an testament to you, you really helped me out personally, and you helped break that little closed eye I had in the middle of my forehead, going, oh, my montages are perfect. You know, I just throw them together and put them on YouTube.
Well, you know, there's so many thoughts. Like, I think montage videos are really good in that they're a good backdrop to do something more important, right? So if you had video game clip montage, like, what was the game you were playing? Was it Call of Duty or?
Yeah, it was Call of Duty World War II.
Okay, yeah. So if you've got like footage of you just wrecking faces, right? Like, just really, really, really good montages. Like, why not use that as a backdrop to talk about something that's important to you? Right?
Yeah, I think the problem with that idea for me is I already have the podcast. I already do another podcast with someone else. You know, it would I think it would have clashed a little bit. Plus, it's hard for me to just like talk by myself. You know, I need someone to bounce off of, so I'm actually interesting. Because I on my old channel, I tried doing a podcast by myself, and they were about 30 minutes of just me talking about nothing. It was kind of like a Seinfeld episode. So I really do need someone to bounce off to really get my groove. But once I get going with someone, then it gets a lot easier for me to talk about things. But I do understand what you're saying, though. Like, I get that. Like, if you're someone who doesn't have a podcast or doesn't talk a lot in your videos, I think, being a montage being a backdrop is the perfect place to talk about, you know, whatever you want to talk about. I think that's perfect.
It could be a 5-minute video. There was a guy, now I can't remember his name.
Well, that's okay.
He's doing really good. And he would have these very insightful diatribes or monologues, socially, politically, personally, whatever. And the backdrop of all his videos, he never showed his face. It was just a montage of him playing video games, CS:GO or League of Legends or whatever. And I thought it was so interesting because he was doing very well at merging these two very opposing content strategies. But he was successful at it. And I was like, oh, okay, I like that. So anyway, I don't know.
This is one of the last questions for you today. And this is one that I've been kind of struggling with in my own head for a little bit. Because when YouTube originally changed its policies, people freaked out. They joined sub for sub threads, which, I mean, I'll be honest with you, I was in one of those for about the first week. And then I was like, well, this is stupid. This isn't working. But, you know, it's obviously frowned upon now. Everyone knows it sucks, even though people still do it. But now it seems we have more and more people who are doing this fake support kind of thing, where they click on a video, they hit the like button, they leave a generic, sometimes copy and pasted comment, which I had a problem with a few weeks ago, and actually called someone out on it. And it leave, and then they leave, like it's like they're there for 10 seconds and they leave, which sounds a lot like what you were saying before about the people. You know, they click on the video and they left for, I forget what you were talking about there, but, you know, that really hurts your numbers. And I was just hoping to kind of pick your brain. What was your thoughts on this, and how can we as creators kind of snuff this stuff out? Because I think I'm making pretty good content. I mean, I have the podcast, I have some video game stuff on there, and my analytics are showing that, you know, several people just, they leave the like, they comment, and they just leave. I don't want to call them out, of course, but I think that just, for me, I mean, that's just I don't know, that hurts you more than anything, and they think they're helping you, and they want you to come back and do the same to them, and it's like, this isn't a two-way street here. This isn't going to help either one of us. So what are your thoughts on all that?
Plentiful.
Yeah, me too.
Right. I mean, do you want my thoughts? Oh, God, how long is this podcast?
Well, it's however long, however
right? long. Okay, so I think let's just look at it technically to start with. When it comes to the way it's going to affect your analytics, right? YouTube doesn't read the comment. They don't read comments so much, or the way they read the comments isn't. It doesn't take the comment into context. It just sees it as a comment. The like or the dislike just counts as engagement. The comment counts as engagement. These things help that video, especially in the first 24 hours to 48 hours. The view itself counts as a view, which helps again in the first 24, 48 hours. What hurts you and what is most important right now, because it's what YouTube is pushing. Video. They are basically pushing that video to the bottom of the tank, especially the more people who do it. The algorithm is naturally going to award longer, or it's going to reward longer periods of watch time. Okay. So it's almost better if they don't click on your video at all. Like, just don't click on it, because I would prefer 0 watch time to 10 seconds, because that means you started watching it and you didn't like it. So you left. And that's how YouTube's going to look at it. Right. So it's going to say, well, people don't really want to watch this. So I 100% agree with you. They're doing way more damage to you than they're actually helping you.
And I sort of take it personally, because I started YouTube because I just wanted people to kind of enjoy my content. That was one of the main reasons I started YouTube, because I had an idea and I was like, oh, people might want to watch this. And when you in the old days, you saw you got 50 views, you were like, oh man, people actually are watching my content. Nowadays, you can go into, Creator Studio or whatever they're going to be calling it now, and you can see the analytics will show like, oh, I may have had 50 views, but only one person watched the video all the way through. And that
exactly.
And to me, that hurts me, because like my whole goal on YouTube is just to have someone watch a video and enjoy the video and actually leave something behind from it, get something out of it. Like with the podcast, I love it when people actually respond and they kind of add to the conversation that maybe you and me were having. But nowadays, it's like someone comes on and they're like, oh, first like, or I had a dude.
Right, exactly. Gee, thanks.
Yeah, and I had a dude who I actually banned from my channel because he actually did a copy paste on a video about depression on my channel, and that was like, great vid, awesome, liked, hit the bell. And I'm like, and he was like, every video he said the same thing, and I was like, this is too much. Like, you need to know what you're commenting on. Like, you can't just copy paste things, because that hurts people, maybe even personally sometimes.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. Well, and this is where it's so weird. You had asked me earlier, kind of the review, and then the difference between the review and the interview content. Very much like you, part of me starting on YouTube was just wanting to have a conversation with people. Okay? I love picking people's brains. I love getting to know people. I love knowing what makes them tick. I enjoy that engagement. And for me, YouTube, especially when it started, I just made the commitment that for a year, I wasn't going to worry about growth or numbers or anything like that. I was just going to enjoy myself, right? And I think there is, and this is Yemmy, this is very deep seated in society right now. It's not a YouTube thing. This is a people thing. Because when you look at Twitter or Twitch. On Twitch, it's follow for follow, or it's lurk for lurk, right?
Yeah.
In YouTube, it's sub for sub. In Instagram, it's like for like. Whatever the format is, it exists unilaterally across all forms of social media, which thereby, ergo, must mean it exists within our society. It's simple. It's this drive for this false success, right? The entire sub for sub wagon that's happened after the change in monetization guidelines. We can look at this and I saw so many people jumping on the sub for sub train. So many people just trying whatever they could do. And to be honest, the sub for sub, the sub part is the easy aspect of the new monetization guidelines.
Exactly.
1,000 subs.
Yeah.
I could get to 1,000 subs tomorrow if I wanted to. Okay. But the brilliance about this move, the brilliance is that 4,000 hours of watch time. Brilliant move. Brilliant move.
Right.
Because what they are establishing is that we're not worried about your subs so much. It's we want to see that people are actually engaging with your content. Okay. So when I go and I look at one of my past podcasts, and I get this a lot, all the time. I'll have maybe 30% of people watched an hour-long podcast start to finish. The other 70% watched about 5 minutes and then left, right? That's okay. I'm okay with that. That could mean any number of things. That could mean maybe my delivery in the first 10 minutes wasn't very good. I can self-critique there and then maybe adjust on my next show. Maybe they just weren't interested in it. More than likely, I'm not going to change my content delivery because my core audience seems to enjoy the delivery as it stands now. But my thought on it kind of overall right now, Yemmy, is if you are a small creator, in my mind, anybody under 100,000 subscribers is a small creator currently. Okay. Anybody under 100,000 subs isn't making a living off YouTube.
Exactly.
Maybe they're making a living on alternative sources of revenue as tied to YouTube, merchandise. Maybe they have a Patreon. Maybe they have a business tied to it. Someone like Christina inside of the community. But YouTube itself is not paying you a living yet.
Yeah. And hold that thought for 1 second, because I remember when I had joined a group of people who were just like watching each other's videos for whatever reason. It was early on in the channel, very, very early on. And I remember this one person freaking out so much. They only had 60 subscribers, and they were like, I really got to monetize my content. I really need that extra revenue. And I'm like, dude, you have 60 subscribers and you get 1 view on a video. Like, what are you doing? It just... That always it was a huge shock to me, and that's one of the things that like shocked me into just leaving that group, getting out of this, out of all that stuff. I was at like 60 subscribers at the time, and I was like, this isn't gonna cut it. This is a group of people who just don't know what the goal of YouTube really is, and it should be just for fun, Well, early on, it really should just be for fun. You're putting out what you want. You like what you're putting out. The revenue comes in secondary for me personally. I don't know about everyone else, but for me, it's like I just want. I just want people to watch my content. That's it.
Oh, dude. Well, and here's the tough one. And Yemmy, I applaud you, man. I applaud you for leaving that group. I think part of the problem is they're for the vast majority, especially when you look at the age. Even this, like the reality of it really sucks. But there's a lot of young people on YouTube who do not understand why YouTube does the way or they don't understand why YouTube does the things they do. Okay. Now, if you're a little bit older and you've been around the block a few times, it makes a little bit more sense. But even that's an unfair statement because I deal and work with a lot of older individuals who still don't who would still be inside of that group you're talking about. Right.
Yeah.
60 subscribers going, I need that YouTube revenue, not recognizing that if you have 10,000 subscribers and with the watch time you're going to get out of that based upon historic averages for a channel at, say, 10,000 subs, you're not living on that. There is no revenue to speak of. At least not ad revenue. And this is what everybody seems to be tied up about. So, say something like 1,000 subscribers, 4,000 hours of watch time, judging that, it may take a year to get to that level if you're really cranking it out. What we're really talking about is a cup of coffee once a month. That's really what we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
So if you're hinging your entire growth pattern on one Starbucks or 7-Eleven coffee per month, there's a problem. And it's just a lack of understanding, Yemmy. Mm-hmm. It's just a lack of understanding. That's one reason why even during the review shows, I try to get people off of the entire number side of YouTube. Stop looking at the numbers, okay? Mm-hmm. Because if you're so focused on the numbers, you are missing out on what YouTube is really about. And YouTube, in my opinion, is about highlighting you as a person, highlighting you as the creator. Who are you? I understand you love gameplay and you want to, I don't know, you want to be the next Ninja or you want to be the next Shroud or, okay, that's fine. And that's all dandy and everything like that. But there's got to be more to it. There's got to be more to it because that drive for money is never going to stop. That's literally an addictive model. Well, I'm just looking for the next sub or the next, if I just get to 1,000 subs or 2,000 subs or 10,000 subs, it never stops.
Right. Yeah. And I think one of the other things is like, there is already a ninja, becoming the next ninja. Right. That void is already filled by one person.
Sorry.
Right. So trying to be the next ninja is even more difficult now because you now have a legion of kids to adults who want to be the next ninja. You gotta be something special on YouTube if you really, really want to make money on it, I guess you would say.
Right, and I mean, we can call that success. If the paycheck looks like success to you, mm-hmm. then I'm not going to sit and judge you for that. To me, that is not what success innately looks like. At least not to me. Not to say that financial aspect is not part of success, but it's not really what I'm after. It's not. And if I could instill in people one thing, it would be to shift and shy away from this continuous pursuit for numbers and the financial aspect of anything you're doing, whatever it is you're doing, whether it's YouTube or Twitch or Instagram or Mixer for in that case, it's you being a better person. It's you being a leader for whatever community you're building up around you. It's delivering a message that's empowering and bold and passionate. These are important things, and this is what's going to eventually net you those financial gains that are so important. Just doing what Ninja's doing or doing what Philip DeFranco is doing, sorry, that's not going to work. Mm-hmm. Because Ninja's already doing what Ninja's doing, and Philip DeFranco is already doing what Philip DeFranco is doing.
And I don't know about Ninja, but Philip DeFranco's content has evolved at least 5 times since he started.
Oh my God, yeah. Well, and that's the other thing is, in talking to a lot of creators, they're so focused on what older creators did. Well, so-and-so does it this way, so that's why I'm doing it this way, right? Mm-hmm. Not understanding that creator more than likely went through 3, 4, maybe a dozen evolutions in their time on the platform. I mean, I don't know how, but I remember Philly D as literally a shit poster. Like backwards hat, Jersey boy, shit posting. That's all it was. And then it became maybe talking a little bit more about society, but just used clickbait in most of his thumbnails. Got very successful, lost his business, had to start a new one today. And now, now he's going through yet another evolution in his content, starting the podcast, losing Joe Nation is doing the daily vlogs or the weekly vlogs or whatever. I mean, he's constantly evolving, and this is what creators do. Right. It's what we have to do. Mm-hmm. We have to continually evolve. And change sucks. I'm sorry. Again, I understand. Change sucks. No one wants to change. We're working inside of a platform that demands it. Life demands change. Yemmy, you cannot be the person that, just to get personal, are you the same person you were when you were 15?
Definitely not.
Are you the same person you were at 20?
Actually, no, not. I mean, even last year, I'm not the same person.
And the more you look at it, the more you realize I'm growing every day. Mm-hmm. Every day, my affect, my person is changing. Why would your content be any different if you're actually going to develop a brand around you as a person?
Exactly. You know? Yeah.
So I don't know, man. To me, that when it comes down to the entire sub for sub train, the view for view, lurk for lurk, follow for follow, like for like, whatever the new thing is, if that's your bag, good luck with it. Best of luck to you. But the reality is it's actually doing more psychological damage than it's actually helping you. And to me, that's the biggest downside of it, man, is that these people think it's actually helping them. When in all reality, you're hurting your channel, you're hurting what little brand you have, it's hurting that. And it's hurting that person psychologically because you're giving in to something that I think inherently won't work. It's the worst kind of desperation because it's hurting you. And to me, that's very unfortunate to see. It's very unfortunate.
Definitely. Yeah. Hey, last question for today. Let's end on a little lighter note. I know we've been talking about a lot of heavier things, but I think it's been a really interesting, and I hope everyone who's watching will agree with us that, I've really been enjoying talking to you here, but I wanted to end on, since Halloween is coming up and this is going to be released after Halloween, let me just ask you, what is your favorite Halloween movie to watch on Halloween, if any?
It's probably going to be Halloween. I say that not because it's my favorite Halloween, but it is my partner and wife's favorite movie to watch on Halloween. So for the past 14 years, it's become a tradition just to watch Halloween on Halloween night, which I find it really good. Halloween is fantastic.
Yeah, it's great.
I find that, it's a classic, man. And, I guess the way I look at it, Halloween was one of those uniquely, I don't know. You've seen the first Halloween, right?
Yes.
Okay, so it's one of those. It was done so good because it wasn't an overtly bloody horror movie. Mm-hmm. Like the rest of the series got by far more and more like bloody as it went on and whatnot. But there was a certain psychology to the first one that I truly appreciated. I really do. What about you, man? What's yours?
On Halloween, I mean, really, we haven't really watched one movie on Halloween, and the one that usually comes up is The Nightmare Before Christmas, mostly because it's a great movie. One, the soundtrack is amazing, but I think this year, instead of watching Nightmare Before Halloween, which we actually went and saw a live orchestra rendition of it a few weeks ago, I think instead of that, we're gonna watch something a little bit more slashery, maybe one of the Friday the 13th movies. Maybe do a little marathon of that. I don't know. We'll see. Like I said, it's not like every Halloween we do the same movie. But I mean, having tradition is fine. Like every Christmas, I used to watch the Santa Claus, or however you do it. Yeah.
Right, exactly. The soundtrack for Nightmare Before Christmas. That's Danny Elfman, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
Pretty sure. I need to Google that. What about when it comes to Nightmare Before Christmas? There's an ongoing discussion in my household, as well as I'm sure millions of households around the world.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a Halloween movie or is it a Christmas movie?
Well, I think it's both. It can be both. Yeah, you can watch it on Halloween and have a spooky time with the characters and the songs and the dark themes, or you can look at it as a Christmas movie where Jack Skellington messes up Christmas and then saves Christmas in the end.
This is very true. I guess you can look at it both ways. I have this horrible tendency of being like a black or white, this way or that way, X or Y type person, and I can't make up my mind about this.
Well, if you want a finite answer, I think it's more of a Halloween movie, personally. Because, I mean, these characters, they are creepy. When I was a kid, it scared.
Yeah.
Like, this movie scared me half to death. With the Jack in the Box pops out, and it's like this deformed head, and
yes,
it's one of those movies that when you're a kid, you're like, okay, this is definitely a Halloween movie, and I kind of stick by that. But I can see it as both, though, because I've watched it at both times. It's not like The Grinch, where it's like, okay, this is Christmas definitely all the way.
Christmas movie, right? See, and that's the way I for the longest time I loved the movie when it came out. But again, the director,
Tim Burton.
Thank you, Tim Burton. I love his work. I fell in love with him during when he was doing Batman. I thought he did such a good job inside of that world. And Nightmare Before Christmas fascinated me. It was disturbing in so many ways, but it also was fascinating. I will always remember the scene when Jack Skellington gets to the circle of trees. Mm-hmm. You see all the different holidays. And I so wish it would have been so cool to see Jack's adventures in all these different holiday lands. And I don't know. I loved it. My kids love it. That's a fun one. That's a fun one to watch, both Halloween and Christmas, I guess. So
yeah, there you go. All right, I think that's it for this episode of the Ferret Business Podcast. I was talking to Matt from Create You today on the podcast. Matt, is there anything else you want to say before we end the show?
Please subscribe to Yemmy the Ferret. He is a fantastic interviewer, a great personality. He's going places. Please drop a subscription for this man. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It means a lot to me. And hey, thanks for coming on the podcast. It was a fun time. A little bit longer than the usual, but hey, yeah, you're a nice dude, and I think we had a great discussion, so it's okay in my book.
There you go. Same here, bud. Same here.
Alrighty, well, I am your host, Yemmy the Ferret, and this has been another episode of the Ferret Business Podcast.